And this year's Youth Leadership Forum, it kind of, COVID-19 did have an effect on ours. So we decided that what we were going to do is we were going to postpone it until next year for our forum, but it also gives our SIL an opportunity to do a introduction to self-advocacy camp, and we're going to be doing it on a virtual platform. So when we proceed next year for the Youth Leadership Forum, we'll be better equipped in using technology on our side as instructors to teach them advocacy. And back to the question, when we were organizing our Youth Leadership Forum with the West Virginia Statewide Independent Living Council, we went through grants.
Can you just donate that?
And no worries. We went through grants and sponsorships with local with shareholders within the state. The Disability Advocacy Council, legal aid, different organizations that we work with in the disability community. So I'm looking forward to this summer's self-advocacy camp, as well as being able to take this knowledge that we kind of are going through in rural West Virginia on how to move forward and to do it on a virtual platform.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing that, Kelly. We have a ton of information you guys are flooding in to the chat room, so I'm going to try to capture some of it. We have people talking about where does the funding come from. So a lot of state funding and donations. They also talked about RSA. So I'm going to assume that's like your rehabilitation services, your vocational rehabilitation, your pre-ETS programming. I'm going to guess that's the RSA there. And then trying to capture all the funding. County sources and different grants through there. So lots of those different places. On our list that we had some from the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, the WIOA. You might have heard it called Developmental Disability Councils. And then private funding, sponsorships, grants, foundations, and things like that. Did you have a question? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I was hoping I could jump in. I helped plan the YLF event for the Able, South Carolina. We get funding through our DD Council, and we're partnered with 2 other SILs across the state, Accessibility down in Charleston, and then Walton Options. And we do a couple different things. So our funding is mainly through the DD Council, but we also try and host the event as central to the state as we can, so it limits travel for everyone. But we also prioritize accessibility. So we've traveled all over the state to all the different colleges and universities and found the most accessible options that we can to have people go. And I wanted to comment too on the experience a little bit. It's a really, really awesome experience for anyone who doesn't have a YLF. We get a bunch of youth together who all have disabilities. A lot of times it's the first time that they've ever stayed away from home. They're a little scared when they start out, but it's really cool to see how much they grow in just a couple days. So they learn a lot of leadership and independence. They build a lot of fellowship through peer mentoring and peer support. And what's really awesome is that we see them grow over those couple of days, but we follow up with them throughout the year, and they go out and they do things that they never thought they were capable of. They advocate at a state level with representatives. They go to college, they get jobs, and a lot of them attribute it to the experiences that they had at YLF. Part of that is why, even if COVID-19 means that we can't meet in person, we're still going to plan to do something virtual this year. So we are changing the formatting some. Usually we do it over 4 days and 3 nights at a campus. If we do it virtually, we were going to do it over the course of a week for a few hours each day. And then also make sure that we include that kind of relaxing time where you get to build a lot of that peer support and that fellow interaction with each other. And so we're going to have that in the afternoons where they can still like hang out and play games and be involved in a lot of different events. And luckily we've gotten a lot of support from the other two CILs and the DD Council, and making sure that no matter what happens, we're going to be able to make that event occur.
Awesome.
If I can chime in just a quick second, this is
Yeah.
Leo again. I would also like to say that some of our some of our delegates have gone to the April conferences, and last year, myself included, with a couple of our alumni, we actually went to Michigan and we gave a speech about how YLF has actually been such a great thing in our life, and how basically if it weren't for YLF, we wouldn't even be going to Michigan to attend the April conferences and everything. So it's been an awesome thing to have out here.
Awesome. We're glad to hear that. And we're seeing a lot of people talking about that virtual platform that I think Armand had mentioned earlier, of like what is the plan going forward? Who was it? Chris, I think you were one of the first. Chris Head. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your last name right. Can you share? Are you able to share a little bit more about what that virtual programming looks for you all this summer? I don't know if he's on or just on the chat.
Were you talking to me?
Oh, yes. I said
So-
Chris Head, so I didn't know.
Sorry. So we have moved, in the state of Utah, we've moved to just virtual so far. The university did finally cancel our plans. So we are still planning for virtual. We're not sure what that's going to look like, but probably 2 meetings a week for maybe an hour at a time. And then we're going to try to get some mentors involved as well. So youth that have participated in the past to come in and teach some of those skills.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that was Utah, and I think Chris Edge is actually from a different place, but he's trying to get this mic working. There were some other people. I know Kelly, you shared a little bit. Nellie, I think you were also saying you guys are involved. Are you able to talk a little bit more about what that looks like for you all?
Hello, this is Nellie. So what I wrote is that our center, we have staff that participate in the Youth Leadership Forum. I participated as peer counselor for the last 2 years, and our youth community liaison, he did group assistant, and we also conduct interviews for YLF. So we interview applicants that are interested in participating, and then we submit the ratings, like if we think that they're qualified to participate in YLF. So that's as far as like how we participated. I think that California is now doing it virtually. I don't know what it looks like yet. I think they're still working out the kinks. Like, I don't know how long, but they have some dates like working it. So I'm like waiting to see how it's gonna go. It'll be a change, definitely.
Definitely. Marissa, are you able to share it all? Thank you for sharing that, Nellie. I know you said you all are you have it set. House party, Zoom, Discord.
Hey guys, yeah, we are full on planning because we're like, oh, coming up soon. So we what we usually do, we are partnering with STEP. Last year we partnered with STEP and DIDD Council. We will reach out to several different networks, our public schools, other agencies, and sort of send out our applications and flyers. We ask for the youth to fill out the application, and they can do that in a variety of ways, through a video, through typing, through drawing, through writing their narrative, however they want to give that to us. That's what we'll do, and then we'll break it down and see who's fit, who's ready. And then we are going to send everybody out a packet, since we're going to be doing this virtually. That way, the days of the event will be like, okay, pull this out. So not only are we doing everything virtually, but we'll have some interaction physically and visually. We are going to have past peer mentors who participated, and they will be interacting in the chats. They'll be doing so they'll keep up everything going in the chat room. They'll do icebreakers, greetings, and they'll sort of participate in facilitating our sessions. And we have everything broken down into 3 days for 4-hour days. And then we'll have one day where we're going to talk with the parents and guardians just to kind of give them a heads up on here's the packets, what Zoom is going to be like, making sure you're dressed and have, you know, all of those things, because, we got to do that. And yeah, and we're going to do it through House Party, Hangouts, Zoom, and Discord.
Okay, awesome. That's a really good point. I never thought about like the dress appropriate for.
What
Right?
is Discord? I'm not familiar with that platform.
Oh, Discord is a way to chat and also visually show games. So we're going to do Jackbox TV, which you can do through Twitch. But a lot of young people have Discord, and you can play up different games, and it's a way to bring some fun elements to it. So, and it usually works along with Zoom or Hangouts, so you can easily go from one platform to the other. And most youth have it because they're already playing, what is it? Let me not show my age, so I'm gonna stop.
All right, I'm young and I don't even know half the games these kids play, so
Right.
I feel you. But that's mainly because I'm not into gaming, so.
I understand.
So there's that aspect.
This is Chris with Independence First. I finally got my mic working. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Marissa hit it all on the head. That's what we're going to be doing as well. We're actually going to be having a virtual summit in June following the school year. We figure youth are going to want something to do. And then hopefully in September have an in-person. Typically we do it 1 week, 5 days, but for September we're looking at Saturdays. So 4 Saturdays in a row. And yeah, similar platforms. We'll probably be utilizing Zoom. It seems to be getting the most foothold with people. But great to bring up the Discord and Twitch. That's a lot of existing infrastructure already there with the youth. And what's nice is it gives that peer support side after the forum. They're already connected. They can keep on gaming. They can keep on talking.
Awesome. And thanks to Katie, Maria, and Marissa, and Beth for keeping us young and cool and telling us what games people are playing. The Fortnite, the Final Fantasy, the Dungeons and Dragons. So awesome, and thank you.
So I wanted to chime in. So the Maryland Youth Leadership Forum is pretty much doing the same thing, but our worry seems to be, will our funders still be willing to pay for the Maryland Youth Leadership Forum when it's happening differently? And are they, so they're used to paying for a certain thing, and because it's so different, are they not going to want to pay for it? So that's our worry over in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Shannon, show them the value. Show them the value when you are reaching out to them, be it via a letter or a phone call, the value that it has to, for these individuals to be educated in advocacy and, the higher learning aspect of it with them having a disability. So it's going to be creativity on your part to show them that value, even though it's done virtually and not person to person.
This is Jane in Florida, and we've been doing YLF for a long time, but this year will be the first year we have to move to virtual. Our secret weapon is that I am with the Statewide Association of Centers for Independent Living, so it's not one SIL that puts it on, but we did contract with a delegate who graduated from the program. So she has experience as a YLF participant, and now she's overseeing the program, and she's wonderful, and she's young, so she knows all the things that will be relevant to the youth. But we're working really closely with our VR agency on exactly what the question was about funding. We have built a lot of the sessions that we typically do here in Tallahassee. The kids come to the Capitol, and they live in a dorm on the campus at Florida State, and then we go to the Capitol and actually do a mock session and teach them about how a bill becomes law and advocacy and all of that. But we have submitted our agenda to the state VR agencies so they can look at it to make sure that all of the sessions will still qualify as pre-ETS, so we can bill for the pre-ETS hours. And just giving them an opportunity on the front end to scrutinize it and make sure we're meeting their deliverables and objectives. And some of the sponsors that we get, a lot of them I've heard already mentioned, but we also work with our bank and we have an investment company that we work with. We allow them to come and speak to the students and give presentations on financial management, and then they also like sponsoring it as well because they get recognition. And we've gotten some nice sponsorships from some of the state universities also. They provide speakers and financial assistance. So that's just another important source of support. But I think what the lesson I'm learning most profoundly from our director, who is in the position full-time for the first time this year, is it's really important to have an authentic person organizing it who really understands what students with disabilities are going through and thinking and wanting to hear, so that your speakers and your agenda really resonates with them. And then of course, whoever your primary funder is for pre-ET services, hold their hand and make sure they're on board with what you're proposing so that you do get paid after the fact.
Thank you.
Sierra, do you mind if I ask a question from the chat?
Mm-hmm.
So Gloria Garten was wondering, how are folks incorporating those young people in rural areas that might not have access to internet on their own? I know that's something, the beauty of a YLF is that it brings young people from all across your state together from different areas. And so just wondering if folks have thought about how they might address that issue.
I'd love to hop in on that one. I'm Paige Maxwell from Able, South Carolina. We're looking at trying to get some like hotspots donated through some of those service providers with hope of being able to say, like, shout out, thank you for providing something awesome like this, so that we can keep youth connected, and then some coordination of getting it shipped to their house so that they can utilize it. So obviously, I think with the way our budget works, since we're not spending money on a location and all those dorm rooms and that food, that we could potentially rework the budget to include those. But the idea of trying to get a little sponsorship type feel is our first route, and I think will be impactful. And then kind of ties into what Jane was saying with some of those long-term sponsors that might provide speakers and all sorts of money down the road.
Awesome. Those are really great. Anybody else of how you're including those young people that may be in rural areas? And this doesn't have to be really youth leadership forum specific, but in general.
In my organization, Access to Independence, I've been hosting a lot of peer support groups. I've been doing a lot of workshops and so forth over Zoom. So, and that's been quite effective, I've been finding.
Awesome. Thank you. And I saw somebody had just asked a question too of like, how do you get youth who are interested that don't really want to talk in front of a big group or do a big video chat type of calls? How are you engaging, or what's your plan for engaging those individuals in these programs?
So for my organization, with my youth that I'm working with, I give them an option of, do you just want to have that peer support one-on-one over Zoom or over the phone, or do you want to be a part of a group? And if you are wanting to be a part of the group, you have to just listen and hear the conversation happening, or you can jump in. It's whatever they're comfortable with, but I do try to encourage them when appropriate to share.
Awesome. And just another thought, if you're going to be using a Zoom platform, Chris, I'm going to pick on you again, but at the beginning there was a Chewbacca symbol instead of their picture, and so there you go, the Chewbacca's now up there. So something just as simple as that, if people don't really like watching themselves all the time, lots of you do it, and that's something, a skill that maybe you could teach them on how to do. And Zoe, you're exactly right, that one-on-one. We've also been hearing, there's a couple of programs that I know that have been doing, their plan is to do the group lessons and the skill building times with a bigger group, but then also building in separately of those big skill building times, the one-on-one piece, and having them partner up with somebody, whether that be a mentor or another delegate, to really, and a participant is really what a delegate is, in case you're not familiar with that language, but a participant, and having them work one-on-one with each other so they can still build some of those relationships that I think, oh gosh, I don't remember who mentioned it now, but some of those social after-hour networking that usually happens at a youth leadership forum, a way for them to do that. I've heard that as well. And that could be done by phone call, or that could be done by a Zoom platform, or any of the other house party, Discord, all of those types of things as well.
And if you want to become a Zoom ninja, I would be happy to help you. This is Mary from April. Some folks using Zoom have done, you can do breakout rooms, which are super fun. You can pull people into smaller groups. If you've got many facilitators on your call, you can pull maybe a peer advocate into a small group with 2 other young people if they're wanting to work together. So there's a lot of, I like to call them Zoom ninja tactics that you can pull as well, to kind of help those folks.
Yeah, those are good.
This is Chris with Independence First. And one thing I forgot to mention is we're going to be pre-recording and captioning a lot of our lessons and videos, both so it's more accessible that way. And so we can include those into our existing curriculum. We do a disability history portion, so why not do a high quality video and then save it for our curriculum later on? And then of course, open it up to discussion. We just want to be mindful of, our translators and Zoom fatigue and everything.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's one thing, and Mary is much better at the Zooming than I am, but one thing that I've run into is when people go into breakout groups, if you're using a cart service, making sure you assign said cart service to, and you may need to bring on more cart providers for those breakout rooms, or if you're using an interpreter, making sure the interpreter gets to those rooms as well. So those are just some of those little things to think about in a different way. We always think about accommodations, but how does that look when we start trying to go online, and making sure it stays inclusive.
Sierra.
Yeah.
So going back to your getting youth involved in a rural area. So I'm in Eastern Utah. We've been partnering at least 3-4 times now already with some of the other centers within the state, jumping on their Zoom calls, getting in their skills classes, and that, so it's just back and forth that way. And then getting youth involved for our conference, because we're not a YLF here in Utah, but we've been getting all the alumni together twice now, and it's just been going great having them get together and talk and getting them ready to maybe start teaching maybe for us. And they're also going to bring in more youth as well.
Awesome. When you say talk, I'm assuming that some of those may be just phone calls. Is that, or are they all?
No, we're doing it on Zoom so they can see each other and that, because now we've got youth that are coming back that are alumni that are all over the country now. So
awesome. That does kind of lead me. I wanted to spend time on Youth Leadership Forum, and I could be here for weeks. I love Youth Leadership Forums to chat about it. But one more thing. Chris is forgetting that he's not a Youth Leadership Forum, but there is a Ninja Conference, which is just pretty awesome name. But I want to also open it up to other summer programs that your center may be running, that it's not necessarily a youth leadership forum. Maybe you usually have a camp, or maybe you usually do a skill class throughout the summer. What are some of those things that you all are doing? How are you adapting those now? It doesn't necessarily have to be a youth leadership forum, but we want to kind of open it up of what does that look like for your center during the summer months?
I wanted to share, this is Kat Kosowski with Reach of Plano. I work for a nonprofit that helps people with disabilities become independent by providing workshops and trainings. And we haven't used it yet. I know a peer support specialist coach who uses this, and it looks like a pretty cool program called heypeers.com. And once you can, I have a free account because I'm a participant, but it looks like the peer support specialists or transition specialists get to create their own calendar, and it'll have like on your homepage what workshops are going on. It'd be kind of cool to have like for the summer camp, the timings and the details of each workshop, and you get the credentials. And it also has this option where you can like chat with other peer specialists in case there's like an emergency. I don't know how effective it is. I haven't used it before, but they also have like public other support groups as well. So it's just also a good resource for some students in case there's like a particular thing they want to work on.
Awesome. And I saw Katie had commented, it's heypeers.com, and we can drop it back in the chat as well. Thank you for sharing that, Kat.
No problem.
What are some of the other programming that you are doing during the summer? And we can talk about what it did look like, even if you don't have a plan of what it looks like yet, or maybe you haven't figured out what that's going to look like. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about, I don't know what CARES funds are. Oh, the ACT. Is that what you're referring to? I thought you were talking about a program named CARES. I can't tell if somebody's speaking or if that's a background. Maybe not. Okay. Well, so I guess, does anybody have any questions of what does that look like going forward for you? What would you like to see included in your summer that maybe you don't have right now, that you have questions of how to do that? I know you've been doing some great networking in the chat. I know with the New York group and trying to figure that out. Do you all have any questions of how do you engage youth over the summer, or how do you connect to them? I know that's often been a question before.
This is Leo again. I was wondering, has anybody thought about actually not doing it this year because of the COVID, and then doing it next year, continuing it next year?
All right, sorry, did you say somebody canceling their programming this summer and just planning on doing it next year?
Not canceling, but kind of postponing it.
Can anybody comment on that?
With my organization, Access to Independence, I haven't gotten any word either way. So I'm trying to prepare for either way.
Right.
So yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we threw out the idea of kind of just postponing it and then doing it next year, as we have quite a few immune compromised kids, and the way I saw it is that YLF has to be face to face for people to get that connection with other people. And our organization kind of threw out the idea of also doing it virtually. But I kept on saying that it's better to just have it be face to face. And we thought of the idea of kind of postponing it, maybe just doing it next year. But we obviously got some backlash with people being like, no, no, we need to do it this year. So I was just wondering what other people, if anybody else had been thinking about that as well.
It looks like Katie in New York said that they were just going to end up doing their youth power next year. But after having this conversation on today, she just emailed somebody to see if they might be able to do one this year virtually as well.
And I know, yeah, I know I also heard some other people talking about that same magic. So if you've been to a youth leadership forum or something similar to that, people really talk about the magic that happens there. And several of the directors of their youth leadership forum said, you know, you just can't recreate that magic virtually. It's just not, it's not the same. So what they have done to still provide something to youth, a lot of them have proposed offering the virtual platform this year, and so give you a little bit of background if you're not familiar with youth leadership forums. A lot of times once you go through the program, you become an alumni, so you wouldn't come back as a participant for some of the programs. So what they've done is said, this year we'll offer the virtual platform, but those same participants can apply again to come to a face-to-face version. So that might be another option, is just providing that programming and that interaction and those skill building opportunities virtually, but then not closing them off to future participation at the participant level, the delegate level, is what I've heard some are doing.
Yeah. I also thought about that as well. And I threw out the idea as well to being like, oh, well, we could do the virtual thing and then have them come back next year to actually experience what YLF really is.
Yeah. And I see, Nellie, you were talking about that you all have a youth summer academy that you hold, and you have a theme. Last year was superheroes. So you all are kind of talking about what this looks like, and hopefully this gave you some good ideas. So great.
It also looks like Sarah Bailey from the Independence Center said that they modify our in-house program called Road to Independence to include field trips and movie nights and weekly advocacy trainings, but they're not quite sure what that will look like now. And I also just wanted to throw out there for you Zoom ninjas, somebody mentioned in the chat that teachertrainingvideos.com by Russell Stannard, they said that those are really great Zoom video tutorials and they're all free. And I'm just on the website now and it's got a lot of cool looking different videos of how you can teach online. So ways to make it interactive. So thanks for giving that resource out in the chat.
Awesome. Oh, and so to circle back around to the Scott comment, I know that he said that they're going to use some of the CARE funds to buy PPE for participants. So that's something, if you don't feel like you can really recreate what you usually have, maybe using that money in different ways. It's a good idea as well.
Kat's looking to add some DIY crafts. I think that's such a great idea. So DIY, of course, stands for do it yourself. They're getting some ideas on YouTube videos and stuff. And then having some speakers, either professionals on certain topics or share about local agencies that students could benefit from.
Awesome. So you all have lots of ideas. We're just idea sharing at this point, which is awesome. And I know we've partnered with a couple of people to do webinars in the past where we've played like a tic-tac-toe online. We've done like a paper fortune, like the little finger fortune thing that you can do. We've done that before with like a whole group. If anybody's been to an April conference and witnessed the square game where there's a whole bunch of squares taped on the floor and you have to navigate through a path, I've seen that done virtually as well. So thinking about maybe some of the activities of how you do it and then how can we put it on there and interactively go through it. Well, Mary's sharing what we got. Oh yeah, our whiteboard.
I just wanted to show people that you can also do a whiteboard as a group. You could, play some sort of, if you have some kind of fun drawing games. That's another just little fun Zoom thing you can do.
So, and I think, the link for that other website, I know somebody had asked, is the teachertrainingvideos.com. So that's who, don't remember who referenced it now, but. Was there somebody else? I thought somebody else had chimed in for a question or a comment.
My name's Joanna Hammond, and I work for a SIL in West Virginia. And I guess one of my concerns is last year we did a lot of role playing in class, like a lot of role playing. For example, like we would come up with an advocacy situation. Like, okay, we put people in groups of like 4 people, and we would say to the students, like, you applied for this job, but you were asked about your disability, and like, we want you to role play. One of you guys could be the supervisor, one the person applying for the job. What would you say? How would you respond? And so they would like work together, and they would role play in front of the class. So it also like made them more comfortable, I think, by the end of the week speaking in front of a group. So that's a little bit like, I've been thinking about that, like how are we going to do that virtually? Because it's like included in a lot of our curriculum. So that's, I don't know how we would, like, unless we would have assignments where someone could do like a presentation on a certain scenario at the end of the week or something, like on Zoom, or I don't know. I didn't know if you guys had any ideas on how to.
Does anybody have any ideas on how to make that virtual? I heard somebody. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah.
My name is Pamela, and I'm with Reach of Dallas in Texas. One of the activities that I remember us doing, there was a story I would read, and each person was assigned a role. They would have like a certain animal sound to make, and they would have like chickens, they had dogs, they had boys singing row, row, row your boat. And as you read the story, each person who had their assigned areas would make the sounds that were assigned to them, and they would essentially be interactive in the story that's told. So whenever they heard their name, they would make the sound in the story. So it became a way for them to be able to interact, and that could possibly be done over the phone as you assign people, different parts as you read a story.
Okay, thank you.
And then I know somebody on, let me see if I can find it. I think it was Kat on the chat. Oh, the role playing is a good idea. If there, I wonder if there's a free chat the class could have where you could choose your avatars and meet in a chat to role play certain social skill scenarios or job scenarios.
Yeah.
For that, I'd recommend Minecraft or Animal Crossing. A lot of youth are playing that and using that platform for relative content.
Minecraft. Awesome. And then somebody else had asked bingo. How could you, has anybody seen that done virtually? And then somebody else had, Javier had shared the sharing our stories, the SOS virtual pen pal activity that they're doing. They're doing it this Friday for all their peers countrywide. And they left their website in there for more details with an attached document as well. So even
it's
maybe.
Something, hi, it's Javi from CILSF. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share that very basic activity, but yet last Friday we hosted it, and a lot of people, not only our peers in the disability community, but our partners, were able to connect and really learn from each other. Basic questions like travel, dating, their sex lives, whatever, just to be educated on everything from that range, right? So I encourage everyone to take a look at our site, and if you're interested in connecting, they also talked about advocacy, the importance of advocacy and inclusion. So I would be happy to have all of you participate in this activity.
Awesome. Thank you. And just another idea for the role play too is just simply being on the computer. If they have the ability to have that virtual platform, having them have, one person on their side acting out this side, and then the other person going and taking turns talking. And then even having the facial expressions of the person that's interviewing going like, what are you talking about? Or how are you doing that? And it wouldn't be the interactive piece, but at least they may have a script, and so they can know who goes next, so they're not talking over each other, which I know can be hard on a virtual thing, but that may be helpful. And then for some of those game pieces, Chris dropped in there, Excel games can be found online, Bingo, Family Feud, Jeopardy. They work great on video chat calls. You can screen share and things like that as well. But I like the SOS piece you were talking about, Javi, for Gloria's issue of like the people that are rural areas. They can just send in a letter as well. That may not work for that exact program that you all are pulling together, but if that's something that you all wanted to have them share experiences, having them submit things through the good old mail system, that may be an option too. To make sure we're still engaging everybody. I'm gonna drop. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, excuse me. My name is Nicole. I'm from CIL, North Central Florida. And what I have been doing with my consumers, it's we are playing a game called Kahoot. I don't know if you guys know. And in this game, they can interact and play trivia games together, where each one can answer from their computer or smartphone, and everyone can see their answer on the shared screen. It has been really fun, so I encourage you to take a look at this. It's Kahoot.it. So I think that's a good thing to have fun together as well.
Thank you. I've heard that. I haven't played that myself yet.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah. Because you can see like who is winning the game, you can see their names, and yeah, it's fun.
Awesome.
I can text the name of, yeah, people put there on the chat. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Mary. And Mary also dropped in another link to games to play on Zoom with an article that was from there. So these are all really great. Is it screen reader accessible, the game, or the Kahoots game? Do y'all know if it's screen reader accessible?
I don't know. Yeah.
And the other thing to remember too is anything time that you're doing something virtual and you're screen sharing, audio describe what's on the screen. If it's changed for you, then just read that out loud too. And that's sometimes a really quick way to be able to do that. But I don't know what all is involved with the Kahoots and like clicking or any of those types of things. I'm going to drop in the chat real quick since we're getting to the top of the hour. This has been so fun sharing. I'm going to collect the chat. You'll get the CART transcript as well. And we're going to put this one online as well for this recording because there's just so much valuable information in here. So if you would be willing to just fill out that evaluation, it lets us know a little bit of how we're doing and what that looks like. And Mary, I think probably still has the poll up, but if not, thank you for voting. That lets us know if we want to do that May 19th one. We do already have it on the schedule, so you'll see an email coming out from me with all of that information.
Sierra, so it looks like, so first of all, Sarah said, will you send out the chat stuff? And Sierra does a great job at that, and we'll make sure to get that out. And then also she said that Kahoots does not work very well with screen readers, but it does have an accessibility page on their website that says it should be screen reader accessible. So it might be worth working, if you have a young person coming to your camp that you know will be using a screen reader, it might be worth setting up some one-on-one time with them to see what they're comfortable with. And then I also did finish the polls, and I am sharing the results, and it looks like 110 people, 85%, would like to attend that meeting. So looks like we're a go.
We'll see you on May 19th then. So yeah, we're just going to be talking about anything that is involving where we're at now, how we can support you. This is a lot when you now had office hours maybe, or program hours, to now you are in front of your computer probably much more, and youth are wanting to connect much more with you. So we want to figure out how we can support you and your programming going forward. And the time, it's going to be the same time. So 2 o'clock Eastern, wherever you're at after that. But it will all be on the website as well. And I'll also send that out with all of these resources as well. So just, I think, let me see. So May 19th is our next one. And then, as I mentioned before on some of our previous calls, if you're interested in doing any mentoring right now, where a youth from another SIL can come out and kind of help you reach some of your goals you may have in your program, that is a service that we're still running right now, a program that's still up and going. So if you're interested in that, please just contact me and I can get you some more information, or drop your information in the chat. And if you do want to be added and you aren't getting emails from me, please just drop your email and preferably your phone number and name into the chat as well, and I can add you to the mailing list. So thank you all for joining today, and I hope you were able to take some good information away. And always remember, you can still connect by email in between the calls if you have questions or other comments that may come up. So we'll see everybody later. Thanks.